Norman, Oklahoma, and streaming live on the KREF app.
The Ref Sports Radio Network.
Live from the Buffalo Wild Wings studios, it's time to get locked into the best Sooner recruiting and football news with Parker Thune and Grayson Singleton.
You better lock it up. No, you lock it up. You lock it up. Lock it up.
Hit the guys up on the Riverwind Casino call-in line at 405-329-9000. Or text the show on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line at 405-651-3439.
Do it! Just do it!
Now, with Locked In, here's Parker Thune and Grayson Singleton.
Welcome to the show, folks. It is Locked In here on a Monday. Parker Thune alongside Grayson Singleton in the Buffalo Wild Wings studios. The show brought to you by Dorsey Jones Buick GMC, where they got great sales staff, a very friendly environment, and half-price oil changes on Saturdays. You can get it all out at Dorsey Jones Buick GMC in El Reno. The Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line is 405-651-3439. How you feeling on this Monday, Grayson?
I am fantastic. How you doing, bro?
I'm a little miffed. I'm not going to kid you.
Oh.
I'm more than a little miffed. Because some of you are absolutely insufferable people.
Is it?
We have so many listeners out there all across the state, all across the country. I've had the blessing over the years to meet so many of you in person. Some of y'all are amazing. The majority of y'all are amazing. Some of y'all are insufferable, man. And here's what I mean. Here's what I'm referring to. Saturday evening, I put a scoop out there on the Twitter machine that Oklahoma is going to be hosting four-star running back and Baylor commit Rylan Morris for an official visit in early June. They've been working to flip him. There's some traction there, and they're going to get him on campus for an OV. My replies on the Twitter machine, as well as on the message boards at OUinsider.com, are full of people saying, well, hope he doesn't come to OU. DeMarco throw him a committee, getting him 5 touches a game. Hope he doesn't come to OU. If he's any good, DeMarco probably won't play him till the 10th game of the season. I'm like, what do we want here? What do you people want? Do you want Oklahoma to have success in the recruiting game? Do you want the public perception of the coaching staff to be a positive one? Because when the kid themselves is tagged in a tweet and you're down there in the replies going, DeMarco sucks, I hope he doesn't come here. You think the kids don't see that? You think that's a good look? You think that does anything positive for the University of Oklahoma? Some of y'all are fans, and you act like exactly the opposite on social media. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to sound like Steely yelling at a cloud here to start off. But it's so exhausting, man. It's so exhausting because even when there's good news, oh, look, a blue chip running back committed to another school. Oklahoma's going to get a shot to flip him. They could potentially pair him with a guy like Caden Jones in a really, really impressive 2026 class of running backs. And the only thing some of you people can say is, well, if he's any good, we know DeMarco won't play him. Really?
What are we doing here? Wait, what? Here's the part of the context that you're missing out. And there is a crowd. It's not a big crowd here with this listener base, and I'm thankful for that. But there is a crowd of people in the general ether that listen to radio shows like ours and think, oh, yeah, I could do this. Here's why you can't. Because there's a level of context that you're missing. Do you think DeMarco wants to play a committee of running backs like that to where he's only giving every running back 11, 12 carries a game and none of them are able to develop any kind of rhythm to the game? You know why you do that? Because nobody has separated themselves. That's why. So if you bring in a blue chipper like Rylan Morris, who's really, really good, by the way, and I've got some really cool analysis to break down his game, by the way, If he separates himself, guess what? He's going to play 66% of the snaps. Because most running back coaches that have a pulse and a head on their shoulders, that's how they operate. The reason the running back room looked the way it did is not by DeMarco Murray's volition or his preference. I struggle to believe that. It's because none of them separated themselves, and Xavier Robinson wasn't ready until he was and busted onto the scene.
CJ Sooner in Florida on the text line with a good point. He says, OU fans are pessimistic because of the product on the field. It seems hopeless. There's never been this many years between championships. Relax, Parker. OU has to win. I get that, right? You see a losing product for so many years in a row, and not necessarily a losing product, but a program that can't get back to the zenith of the sport. As we sit here today, Oklahoma hasn't won a national championship since 2000, and you start losing patience with everything. I get that. But you have to be mindful of the big picture here. You have to be mindful of the way that a 17-year-old's brain works. Because guess what? If you're a 17-year-old scrolling through your Twitter feed and taking a look at the replies to this reporter's tweet when he mentions you're going to be taking an official visit to the University of Oklahoma, and you've grown up, as Rylan Morris did, with a reverence for the University of Oklahoma and its outstanding tradition at the running back position with stars like Adrian Peterson and DeMarco Murray and Joe Mixon, who is one of the top 5 running backs in the entire NFL right now, so on and so forth. And you have this awe for the University of Oklahoma, the Crimson and Cream, everything that football tradition represents, and yet that university's own fans are in the mentions going, well, hope he doesn't come here to play for our loser of a running back coach. What is that going to leave you thinking? I guarantee it'll shift your perception. You may not regard all of the noise as gospel, but it's going to get you thinking. It's going to get you wondering, shoot, why on earth would I go to Oklahoma when these fans don't even think their own coaches are any good?
And it's not as if recruiting in college is the same as I know we throw the term free agency around, but it's not the same as free agency in the NFL. Because free agency in the NFL, guys go to the team regardless of the fan base. Jacksonville brings in free agents every single year and pays them pretty good money to do so. That fan base stinks. Inarguably stinks. But people still go there. That's not the same as recruiting 17-year-olds out of high school. They want to go where they can feel supported. And if you're over here trying to run a mutiny on the head coach and the coaching staff, not only does that sell a product that is disunified, but it also doesn't make you seem supported, and it begs the question, how soon are they gonna turn on me?
Mm-hmm. And that is a very good point. I'm glad you bring this up, because I was actually talking to a blue chip recruit in the 2026 class. I won't mention his name, but a very highly recruited player. He's got something like 40, 45 offers. And he's spent some time at OU in recent years. He's taken a few visits. And he said, man, those fans can be vicious, man. Once you get on their bad side, it is hard to get back on their good side. And he kind of understands, right? Like, if I don't want to wind up in that position, then I got to play well on the football field. And he doesn't feel like he's crushed by the pressure if he decides to come to Oklahoma. He's not going to feel crushed by the pressure of needing to perform because he has a level of trust in his own abilities. But that's something of which recruits are mindful. They see that for what it is, which is, man, at least as far as the opinions of the fan base is concerned, Oklahoma, man, it's not a place where you want to get on those folks' bad side.
And it's not only that too, Parker, but also keep this in mind from the psyche of a high school kid. These are grown people. These are grown adults that are crashing out over 17-year-olds and 18-year-olds' performances. And I get there's an alumni base and your fans. I get that. I do. I'm not saying that if you're one of those people, you are completely out of your mind. I'm not saying that. I don't mean to imply that.
Uh-huh.
But from the perspective of a 16-year-old and 17-year-old kid, if you're going on Twitter, and by the way, a generation that doesn't have a high aptitude with social media anyway, and that generation's on social media already disseminating negativity around the program, I can see how that would turn you away. So I love that you brought this up. I really, really do, because this is something that could really sway some opinions.
4-star KW918 says, good on you, Parker, for taking this on for real. I don't have Twitter. Social media is stupid, if you ask me, but I agree it's bad and not the way to go about it. Amen. There's a lot of stupidity on social media, K-Dub. Sooner in Springtown says, how about getting on DeMarco Murray like you get on the fan base? Again, I'm not trying to get on the whole fan base. 80 to 90% of Sooner fans out there are great people. But it's the 10 to 20% that, yes, I am actively chastising you, because your presence on social media does more harm than good. And it does do a tangible degree of harm. I know this for a fact. I talk to recruits. I've seen this play out. If there is negativity from the fan base on social media, it's something of which recruits take notice. And look, Sooner in Springtown, by no means am I sitting here and saying DeMarco Murray is above reproach. He's not. There are certainly some very understandable questions that have circulated over the last couple of years with his management of the running back room, and there have been circumstances that have played into that, injuries and the like. But no doubt, Oklahoma's running back play over the last 2 seasons has not been what it was for the first 3 years that DeMarco Murray was on staff, where you had a guy that popped off in 2020 with, half, maybe 2/3 of the season, because Ramondre Stevenson missed, I believe, the first 4 games of that campaign due to his suspension, pops off down the stretch, winds up a 4th-round draft pick of the New England Patriots. Then you have Kennedy Brooks go for 1,000+ in 2021, and Eric Gray go for 1,200+ in 2022. First 3 years of DeMarco Murray's tenure were really, really strong, but these last 2 certainly have caused some questions to circulate. I understand that. I'm not trying to tell you that DeMarco Murray is above reproach. What I am trying to tell you is that when you make DeMarco Murray out to be a moron and in over his head and completely incapable of the role that he is employed to execute at the University of Oklahoma, it doesn't do any good. It doesn't do any good.
Couple of other texts I want to group together here. One from the 580 from Durant. If they're going to be paid like professionals, they're going to be judged and treated like that, regardless of how young they are or how right or wrong that is. If y'all don't like it, get over it. It's the new era of college football we live in. And I want to group that with Slim Brady's text. Kind of soft mentality by the recruits, huh? Here's the point I think some people are missing. We're not saying that you're wrong to feel the way that you feel about the coaching staff.
Yeah, you're entitled to your opinion. Absolutely.
Here's the point I think some people are missing. You're trying to get these kids to choose you. You're trying to get them to choose you over other equal options and some potentially better.
Mm-hmm.
That's the whole point. And if you just throw out negativity out there, you're giving them more reason to go somewhere else, to go to the Tennessees of the world, to go to the Alabamas, the Texases, the Oregons.
Well, and again, if you're an OU fan and you want to see OU recruit well, why would you say or do anything that could work the opposite direction?
Exactly.
It just doesn't make sense.
Absolutely.
And look, you're 100% right. These guys are paid like professionals. They're going to be subject to the criticism. That's absolutely true. It comes with the territory, and I think guys know that. I think they know that.
I'll say this one thing too to add on to that point too. These days, more so than ever, the atmosphere around your Twitter space when it comes to, in this case, OU Twitter, serves as an extension of the school's PR. That's what I think has really changed in the world in the last 3 to 5 years, is that now the fans are an extension of the PR. And we know negative PR, whether it's a business, whether it's a person, a celebrity, whatever, negative PR is always bad and doesn't help people choose to bring their talents or their business to you. So if you're going to disseminate negative PR, that like you said, will have tangible effects.
Yeah, and there's a 214 listener on the text line that asks, is this problem unique to OU, not other programs? Absolutely not. No. Other fans or other fan bases, other programs, they have people talking noise on Twitter on their own coaching staffs and their own programs. Absolutely. It's not a problem that's unique to OU, but again, look, you guys are OU fans. We cover the University of Oklahoma. We're not talking about other programs here.
Exactly.
We're talking about the University of Oklahoma. And again, what you're trying to do, the ultimate goal of recruiting, is to give these prospective student-athletes reasons to choose Oklahoma over those other schools. So if the counter-argument here is, well, other schools are doing it, once again, we come back to my initial point, which is that you're trying to not lump yourself in with all of the other institutions that you're recruiting against.
You're trying to stand out.
You're trying to establish an edge. And anything that works contrary to that goal, especially when it comes from the fans, I'm just saying, be mindful of the things you tweet because recruits see it. We need to talk about Rylan Morris. Let's do that on the other side. Let's hit a quick opening timeout. 4-star running back Rylan Morris out of Honey Grove, Texas, committed to Baylor. Oklahoma working to flip him as we speak. He's going to OV in early June. We discussed that a little bit at the very, very top. But we'll dig into his game, the outlook for Oklahoma at the running back position, and how quickly the rest of this offensive class may come together on the other side. Keep it here on Locked In, the home Locked In on the Ref, the home of Sooner. Locked In is not the home of Sooner fans. The Ref is. You're listening to the Ref Sports Radio Network. Keep it right here.
Bleed Crimson? Love great Sooner talk? Join the Ref Army by downloading our free app. Toby and TJ, Plank and Josh, Steelman and Thune, and Teddy and Tyler. We have the Sooner experts. The Ref is home to Sooner fans worldwide.
Fall in love with OKC's favorite casino.
Because at Riverwind, we've got it all.
Grab a bite at one of our many restaurants.
Or sip and spin at our high-stakes area.
And the Showplace Theater at Riverwind is the hottest spot for live music.
Shoot your shot at our $80,000 Cupid's Quest giveaway.
For the best gaming and unforgettable entertainment.
It's gotta be Riverwind.
The Ref is the home of Sooner fans and is once again your home for chaos. Every game-changing hit.
Long fly ball to left. Track. Whoa. Gone.
Every strikeout.
Got him. Swinging.
Every defensive gem.
He caught it. He caught it.
Every game, all year, the Ref has you covered.
Catch opening weekend of Sooner Baseball against the Lehigh Mountain Hawks Friday at 4, Saturday at 2, and Sunday morning at 11 a.m. right here on the Ref and the K-Ref app.
Is your team coming to Norman or Noble for an event? Let Chick-fil-A 12th Avenue be your winning meal provider. From box meals and nugget trays to lemonade and tea, 12th Avenue Chick-fil-A can provide your team's pre- or post-game meal. Delivery, pickup, or dine in, 12th Avenue will have you covered. Call us at 405-310-3189 or use the CFA One app and let Chick-fil-A feed your team. Don't forget to ask about the Give Back program for a winning season. Call 405-310-3189 and remember to eat more chicken.
Imagine one step, and suddenly a fall turns into a fracture. For many, osteoporosis is a hidden threat, weakening bones silently until it's too late. At the Ortho Central Bone Health Clinic, we believe in personalized care to keep bones strong and resilient. Led by advanced practitioner Amanda Boyd, our team specializes in detection and personalized treatment plans, from bone density testing to strengthening bones after a fracture. Take charge of your bone health today. Call Ortho Central's Bone Health Clinic and let's build better bones together.
Did the recent storms damage your home and roof? Call All-American Roofing today. All-American Roofing has been repairing and replacing roofs for over 40 years and is a second-generation locally owned roofing company. They are also a Google-guaranteed contractor and offer free inspections. Our roofers are GAF Master Elite contractors with a BBB A+ rating. Call All-American Roofing today at 405-787-0400. All-American Roofing, the best roofing company in Oklahoma. 405-787-0400. Ready for some pickleball fun? Join us at the Y-Fac for pickleball every Tuesday from 8 to 11 a.m. and Friday from 5 to 8 p.m. Grab your friends and hit the courts for a lively morning or evening game. If water fitness is your pleasure, Aquazuma classes are every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9 p.m. Go online at yfac.com to learn more about day passes and memberships.
Are you in need of purchasing your own health insurance? Are you turning 65 and confused about Medicare? Are you an employer looking at offering benefits to your staff? Call the agents at Allison Insurance. They'll sort through the confusion. They're not captive to just one company, and they'll get the best option for you. Don't get frustrated. Call Allison Insurance at 800-580-5587 or 745-2968. Allison Insurance. They are the experts.
At Primrose Funeral Service, we have been compassionately serving families for over 80 years. Do your loved ones a favor by pre-planning your funeral and cemetery arrangements. With pre-planning, Primrose can help eliminate the difficult decisions at a difficult time, because nobody should plan for a loss at the same time they are experiencing one. Our sincere commitment is to make things a little easier for you and your family. So contact Primrose Funeral Service at 405-321-6000 or visit them online at primrosefuneralservice.com.
It is locked in here on the Ref, the home of Sooner fans. Parker Thune alongside Grayson Singleton. Mentioned it to start the show. Let's dive into the conversation here surrounding Oklahoma's pursuit of a running back from the Lone Star State. Small town Texas, mind you. Honey Grove. I've never been to Honey Grove. It's up in the northeast part of the state. It's basically Oklahoma, for all intents and purposes. Right up there on the border. But a four-star running back, Rylan Morris, currently committed to Baylor University, is going to take 3 official visits. One of them naturally will be to Baylor. The other will be to Stanford on May 30th. But the one that is, of course, most relevant to all of you out there listening is his Oklahoma official visit on June 6th. Now, some backdrop on Rylan Morris. Committed to Baylor last July. Had, I believe, north of 20 FBS offers at that point. OU, obviously, one of them. USC was one of them. He had some big-time schools on that offer sheet. But Keenan Hall, the running backs coach at Baylor, is famously one of the most dynamic recruiters in the entire Lone Star State. A very relationally driven guy who has done wonders for Baylor's overall recruiting efforts, not just at his position. And he was the main reason why Rylan Morris felt spurred to commit before his junior season of high school. Visited Baylor several times throughout the season, but another place that he has been to quite frequently over the course of his recruitment is Norman. His OV is going to make his 6th overall trip to OU as a recruit, Grayson. And when you get to that half-dozen threshold, it's generally pretty surprising if the recruit in question does not pick your school. And there will be some kids that visit a half dozen or more times at multiple places, and so obviously somebody has to win one, somebody has to lose one. But in general, that's kind of the vague target that you shoot for in the recruiting game, is if you can get a guy on campus a half dozen times, you're going to have a great chance to land his pledge. And I think there's some confidence that's building up in the OU camp about their odds to land Rylan Morris.
You and I were talking about this as it pertained to Jamarian Ficklin's recruitment coming out of Muskogee, how he really wanted Oklahoma, and he kept finding himself in Norman. Now Oklahoma never gave him the offer. He ends up going to Texas State.
Utah.
Oh, that's right. He did end up flipping to Utah. So he ends up flipping to Utah from Texas State. Now, with this kid, a kid you're trying to flip from Baylor and a kid that you have shown that you have the utmost interest in, if you keep getting him back, obviously you're on the right track. And look, a player's not going to go anywhere, especially somewhere like these smaller towns. I know Norman's right next to Oklahoma City, but for all intents and purposes, smaller town. They're not going to keep going if they're not interested. And if we want to get into him as a player, he's a guy that you should really like. downhill runner, also has the versatility to play receiver.
Yeah, very good receiver.
Very good
receiver.
I was watching the film about 10 minutes before we came onto the air. You know who his play style kind of reminds me of, and the way you could use him?
Who's that?
I'm going to go back to late 2000s, early 2010s. Let's go to Ole Miss. Dexter McCluster.
Ooh.
How Ole Miss used to use him. He can line up in the slot. He can play your traditional running back. You could probably line him up outside and he could do some damage too. So a very versatile guy. Maybe look for him in the kicking game. And he also, believe it or not, because Honey Grove is a very small town. I didn't look up what classification in Texas it is. Believe me, I'm from Texas. I've never heard of it.
2A.
2A. In those small towns, it's very often that you see the lead running back take a bunch of snaps in the Wildcat.
Mm-hmm.
He has a little bit of an aptitude to be a pretty decent passer, too. So,
little trick play potential, is that what you're saying?
A lot. He offers so much versatility, and he offers a lot that you could do. So, if this guy, I know he's a 4-star, and this is very obvious coming with that territory, if you can land this guy, if with a creative guy like Ben Arbuckle, you can see a lot. You can see a lot with this guy.
And one thing, to that point, one thing I have been told by multiple folks tapped into that recruitment is that Ben Arbuckle loves Rylan Morris's game.
I wonder why.
Mm-hmm. And it's Ben Arbuckle's adoration of Morris's skill set that has really prompted Oklahoma to push that much harder to flip him from Baylor, because the Sooners have options, right? They're going to try to reel Jonathan Hatton back in. They got K.D. Jones right up the road, and I think everybody figures he does wind up in OU's class when it's all said and done. But I think if the offensive coordinator is anybody but Ben Arbuckle, I don't know that Oklahoma is pushing quite this hard, but he is a really, really good fit for what Arbuckle likes to do and wants to do, and Arbuckle has taken a very specific liking to Rylan Morris, which is prompting Oklahoma to go hard in their pursuit of Morris, even after he's already committed to Baylor. He's going to OV Stanford as well, like I mentioned.
Is that really a threat?
I don't think so. Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing, though, with Stanford. The thing that Stanford does is, and it's honestly a pretty brilliant recruiting strategy, because I imagine you've seen what Stanford's stadium looks like on a game day.
Yeah.
No one shows up to watch Stanford football.
Nope.
But it is one of the most picturesque schools in America, and it's one of the most academically prestigious schools in America. And so what Stanford does every single year, with some degree of success, mind you, is that they will bring all of their targets in for the earliest possible official visit date. They will oftentimes have their big official visit weekend on the first weekend of June or the last weekend of May, depending on when it's permissible to host official visitors. They will get everybody in before they have the chance to take OVs anywhere else, and they will try to get guys to commit. They will push very, very hard to get guys to commit before they leave the state of California. They will overwhelm these kids with messaging about how much the Stanford degree does to set you up in life beyond football. And so they will lean into the prestige, and this has actually worked against Oklahoma's interests in the very recent past. You go back to the 2025 class. It was 8 months ago that Oklahoma was considered the odds-on favorite going into official visit season for 4-star defensive tackle Cole Breeler out of the state of New Jersey. His OVs were going to be Oklahoma, Ohio State, and Stanford. Stanford was the first OV. Nobody was worried. He'd never been there before. He had never been to Stanford for an unofficial visit or anything. Very first time on campus. Nobody on either the OU end or the Ohio State end was at all worried about Stanford. He shows up on Friday. He is publicly committed by Monday. So it can work. It darn near worked with Michael Boganowski as well, to my recollection. They were his first official visit, and they pushed really, really, because here's one thing that moms love to hear, Grayson.
Oh, I already know where you're
They love
going.
to hear
that their
son's going to get a great education and be set up for life after football. Stanford has the mom pitch down to a science. And so, does Stanford actually have a prayer with Rylan Morris, a guy that does have a lot of guidance, a lot of people who are involved in his recruitment that have his best interests in mind and probably aren't going to let him shut it down after one official visit and commit to a program from old Pac-12 territory that now plays in the ACC? Probably not. It's probably not going to happen. But you do have to acknowledge you've seen it before with Stanford. You can't completely dismiss that possibility. There is confidence on the OU side, though, that they're going to sway Rylan Morris to Oklahoma. I got the chance to watch him in 7-on-7. I've had the chance to watch him in person on several occasions over the last few years because he's been a nationally coveted prospect since his freshman year of high school. And, man, he is an exceptional receiver, which, again, feeds into why I think he's going to be such a nice fit if Oklahoma can land him. Such a nice fit for Ben Arbuckle's offense because of the versatility component. He is somebody that creates a matchup problem no matter where he lines up on the field, because if he didn't play running back, Grayson, if he had no inclination to play running back, he could go get Power 4 scholarships to play wide receiver. He's that good. He can go make contested catches. He's a very precise route runner, very agile and elusive in the open field. And he's only about 5'9", 180 pounds right now. He's obviously not gonna get much taller, if at all taller. But you think you bulk him up to 195, 200, and you're looking at somebody that can be a dynamo in Oklahoma's offense in the SEC, because that athleticism, that speed, and it shows up on tape. That'll play anywhere.
I'm glad you brought up his size, because we have on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line, Big John from Texas. Men, if this kid is not a big 225-plus kid, he doesn't need to play running back at OU. We have to have guys that can get through a heck load of trash and contact. We don't give clean holes. No more small backs. So I guess you don't want Caden Jones either, because Caden Jones right now is 5'10", 185. And he's not getting to 225 by the time he gets to Oklahoma, if that is where he picks.
How many 225-plus running backs are out there on the high school
coming
level
out of high school
that are worth the scholarship? Xavier Robinson sure was, but Xavier Robinson was a unicorn in so many ways.
Yeah, this is not a normal thing.
Generally speaking, high school running backs are not going to graduate at 225 pounds plus, at least not a 225 pounds that college coaches like to see. If it's 225 pounds, it's a fat 225 pounds.
Yeah.
And Xavier Robinson wasn't even fat, but they still slimmed 20 pounds off his frame when he got to OU.
Yeah. Derrick Henry, Fred Taylor types, that's not a normal thing. And by the way, Parker, can you imagine if let's say you're at the 5-yard line, 3rd down and goal. You got a backfield of Rylan Morris running the read option with Caden Jones in the year 2028. You'd take that. Because both of them by that point will probably be around 210. I think that's reasonable to think.
I think so. Like, consider the last really light running back that Oklahoma took from the high school ranks. That was Gavin Sawchuk back in the class of 2022. He was not much more than 170 pounds when he graduated high school. By the time his, redshirt freshman year at Oklahoma rolled around this past fall, that's what he is, right? Redshirt freshman or redshirt sophomore? Yeah, he's going to be a redshirt sophomore. So a year and a half into his college experience, or no, just 1 year, because he was a summer enrollee. So a little over a year after he officially enrolled at Oklahoma, Gavin Sawchuk was 200 pounds. They will put weight on these running backs. Just because the kid's 5'9", 180 now does not mean he's going to be playing at 180 when he gets to town and is ready to contribute. If he gets to town, that is. Gunny of Stutzman Army says, I was about 215 pounds as a fullback coming out of high school. Dang, Gunny. It's too bad fullbacks are obsolete. If you had any eligibility left, might be willing to throw you in that room alongside Jaron Kanik. What do you think? Think you can beat Jaron Kanik out for snaps?
Chris from Knoxville. If the running back isn't the next coming of Adrian Peterson, I don't want him. Probably some of our fans out there.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, think back to a guy like Adrian Peterson. Obviously, he was a stud. Samaje Perine, who was playing at 232, I think, at OU, he was a stud, no doubt. Those aren't the only backs that have had great success at Oklahoma.
What was DeMarco playing at?
Oh, I don't remember.
Because wasn't DeMarco like 215 when he was with the Cowboys, if I remember correctly?
I'm sure he
maybe
was.
220.
He was a pretty well-built dude. But like Eric Gray wasn't huge.
Nope.
Eric Gray has he's had the most productive season of any Oklahoma running back since the new decade arrived in 2020. So you don't necessarily have to be a unit like Adrian Peterson or a unit like Xavier Robinson to be a successful running back. And certainly with Rylan Morris's pass-catching ability, that's going to enable him to be, I think, a very early contributor, somebody that could get on the field as a true freshman, certainly should be on the field as a redshirt freshman, getting meaningful snaps for OU. Recruiting Boomer points out Samaje was the 33rd ranked running back in the class. Yeah, if you told somebody in 2014 that they had a true freshman running back that would leave campus as the school's all-time leading rusher, everybody and their dog would have said, oh, yeah, Joe Mixon. But nope, it was Samaje Perine. Big John from Texas adds, it is what it is. We don't have the line for small backs. We just don't, so got to have size. Okay, you might not have the line right now, Big John, but Rylan Morris isn't showing up until 2026. And he's probably not contributing a whole heck of a lot until 2027. So unless you think Oklahoma's line is doomed to mediocrity for the foreseeable future, then I'm not really sure why that matters right this second.
Real quickly before we go, Steve-O Rollo on the YouTube chat has some background on Honey Grove. I did some teaching observations for my degree at Honey Grove, Texas ISD. Dude, those schools have money. That's interesting. Never heard of
Pretty
that
much
before.
every school in Texas has money when it comes to football.
Okay,
because
this is valid.
Every single high school in Texas, if nothing else, they are going to make sure that their football operation is taken care of. Have you seen Melissa's stadium?
Oh, yeah, I played against Melissa.
Their football stadium?
No, I've seen the football stadium. I've been to Melissa. But
okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I've seen the football stadium. Yeah, it's nice.
Uh-huh.
You seen Prosper's?
Yes, I have. We're talking like a lot of high schools in Texas have stadiums that are nicer than plenty of college stadiums.
Oh, yeah, 1,000%.
That's how much money is tied up in Texas high school football. It doesn't surprise me. Okay, one more segment when we return here on Locked In. You're listening to The Ref, the home of Sooner fans, more OU football, and Crootin talk on the other side.
A true Sooner fan wouldn't be caught dead without the KREF app. Join the Army. Get the app. Tell your friends. This is The Ref, where diehard Sooner fans listen.
There are trucks. Then there's the truck. GMC Sierra, with available features like the V8 engine, the ultimate luxury interior, and of course, the available world's first 6-function multi-pro tailgate. GMC Sierra, not just any truck, the truck. GMC's continued commitment to professional-grade engineering is on full display at your Oklahoma GMC dealers. Come take a test drive today and see for yourself. We are professional-grade GMC.
Ever wonder why someone would go to the ends of the earth and leap into the unknown? Maybe a better question is, what are you waiting for? Pacifico is brewed for those who follow their own path. That's living life anchors up.
Hey, Sooner fans, we've got you covered. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year.
No, we don't get a break.
This is the home of Sooner fans.
The Ref Sports Radio Network.
Do you like to stand out in a crowd while wearing the best in OU apparel? The Jimmy Austin Pro Shop carries the best brands you can wear to work or even dress up events. Lines such as Lululemon, Travis Mathew, FootJoy, Greg Norman, Grayson, or Turtleson with the OU and Jimmy Austin logo are sure to catch everyone's eye. You don't have to be a golfer to shop at Jimmy Austin. They also do corporate special orders for you and your company. Call them today, 405-325-6716, or visit theougolfclub.com for more information.
Celebrate love at the Artesian Hotel, Casino, and Spa. Treat your special someone to a romantic getaway featuring luxurious accommodations, indulgent dining, and unique shopping experiences. All in the heart of Sulphur, Oklahoma. Plan your visit today at artesianhotel.com.
I'm Gina Mitchell of Mitchell's Jewelry. Valentine's Day is all about love, and we have gifts worthy of the day. Modern heart pendants and fabulous gold necklaces are sure to make her heart skip a beat. She might even have a wish list waiting for you. If you're looking to outdo Cupid, our Antwerp Diamond Supplier has brought in the best Antwerp has to offer. The selection and the prices are oh so sweet. Mitchell's Jewelry in the heart of Norman at 2201 West Main Street.
Tired of your current living situation? Now is the best time to make a move. Interest rates are dropping and Home Creations is offering the best financing around with rates as low as 3.625%. This will save you hundreds per month on your brand new Home Creations home. Live like a champion today by calling Holly at 405-364-9999 for full details.
364-9999. Home Creations.
APR 6.508%.
Whether you're celebrating a special occasion, desire a great post-game, or after-work dining experience, the Ranch Steakhouse is the winning choice. At Ranch Steakhouse, we're grilling up the best USDA prime steaks in Oklahoma. Juicy, flavorful, and cooked to perfection. Pair that with an unbeatable atmosphere, a killer drink selection, and a wine list of over 400 personally curated bottles. Whether you're toasting the game or winding down after a big day, Ranch Steakhouse is where champions eat.
Stand Up to Cancer asked leading cancer researchers to speak about why they do their work.
Two words come to mind for me. One is responsibility, the other is purpose.
It's just so inspiring to do research that impacts human lives.
Stand Up to Cancer has been a critical partner in advancing research for cancer.
Cancer research saves lives.
So please, help us fight in this battle against cancer.
Be a part of the team that ends cancer at standuptocancer.org.
The poll question on our YouTube stream today here on Locked In is who has been OU's best transfer in the portal era? Which, by the way, if you don't recall, portal era dates back to 2018. So the options available for you to choose are Jalen Hurts, Dylan Gabriel, Bauer Sharp, very funny. Or you can choose a right in it. I mean, it's really like Jalen. It's a Jalen Hurts, Dylan Gabriel debate. Obviously, Hurts only had 1 year at Oklahoma. It was a very decorated year. It was a year that was good enough to win the Heisman pretty much any other year but 2019 when Joe Burrow turned in the greatest single-season performance we've ever seen from a quarterback at the college level. Man, Jalen Hurts. And we had this conversation in the 12 o'clock hour, though, Grayson. I covered Jalen Hurts' year at OU. I would never have imagined, genuinely never have imagined, that he would be a Super Bowl winning starting quarterback at that time. And it had a lot to do. What is that in the background?
Not sure.
Sounded like somebody was singing. Regardless, where was I? I got completely distracted.
I never thought Jalen Hurts would be a Super Bowl winning quarterback either. I didn't think he's played two great Super Bowls.
He has, and has looked like, honestly, the better quarterback in those two Super Bowls. Now, obviously, I'm not talking like better overall, but as far as
isolated to that
single
one
game performance is concerned, yeah. I think he's outplayed Patrick Mahomes both games. But watching Jalen Hurts at Oklahoma, man, again, you didn't question the leadership, you didn't question the toughness, you didn't question the athleticism. The big thing you questioned was the arm talent. Was he going to be a good enough thrower of the football to make it in the NFL? And I think it's a beautiful and poetic answer to that question. The fact that the kill shot yesterday, the play that basically ended the game, made everybody realize, okay, like this is just a blowout. Forget it. Forget any idea you might have had that Kansas City would be coming back. It was a beautiful deep ball to Devontae Smith. Traveled 50-plus yards in the air, culminated in an Eagles touchdown. that staked them to a 34-0 lead. Puerto Rican Sooner on the text line said Hollywood Brown. That was pre-portal, and he was junior college. So it doesn't really count on 2 accounts there, Puerto Rican Sooner. But, Jalen Hurts, man, that year that he had at Oklahoma, it was spectacular statistically. But to see where he's gone in just 5 years as a pro football player is really, really cool. Because I think there were plenty of folks, too, that thought he got overdrafted when the Eagles took him in the second round back in 2020, especially given that they had, and this is so hilarious to say now, Carson Wentz that looked like their franchise player. Carson Wentz.
I mean, I'll raise my hand to the overdrafted. I thought he was a 5th-round guy at best.
No shame in that. I was kind of in the same boat, but man,
isn't it weird how he kind of just turns it on in the championship games and the Super Bowl? Because there was reason for the criticism leading up to the postseason.
Big-time players make big-time plays in big-time games. Congrats to Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia Eagles. Congrats also to Lane Johnson and Grant Calcaterra. Grant Calcaterra, who was forced into medical retirement by the University of Oklahoma.
Okay.
But then decided, you know what, I'm not done with football. Screw this. I'm going to go down to SMU and we'll make this work.
Okay,
and he did.
In 60 seconds, because I know there's more we want to get to, what the hell happened there?
Concussions and liability.
And they said, we're not going to take on the legal part of this.
Correct.
Okay.
He was not the only player that this happened to either. And I don't know whether it was an issue of the time or something that they'd still do today if the situation arose with a player that had repeated concussions. But Noah Nelson, former 4-star offensive lineman that Oklahoma landed, I believe, in the 2020 cycle, is another guy that had enough concussions that OU was just like, okay, look, you're not playing here anymore. You can go play somewhere else, but you're not playing here. So it was an issue of liability for them.
And that's reasonable.
Yeah, it's fair. Certainly not an easy thing for a lot of OU fans to swallow when Calcaterra goes down to SMU, has a great senior year with them, and then he's off to the NFL, and here we are. I think this is year 4 for him, and he's a Super Bowl champion.
Yeah.
I had classes with Grant Calcaterra back in the day. Multiple, I think. I know we had Rocks for Jocks together.
You had rocks?
That's what that's what the intro to geology class is known as.
That's
Rocks for Jocks, yes.
Yeah. Rocks for Jocks.
Because an 80 is an A in that class.
Really?
So, yeah.
Oh,
a lot of athletes in that class.
Predictably. Glenn from Nashville, I know this is sacrilege on these airwaves, but I'm not sure Jalen Hurts is doing what he's doing in the NFL if he didn't spend that season with Lincoln Riley. Muleshoe helped his game. As much as we hate and despise Lincoln Riley, I hope we can all admit that.
Lincoln Riley helped a lot.
That's an undisputed fact.
Lincoln Riley helped Jalen Hurts a lot. You may not like it, but that is the truth. Jalen Hurts, no doubt, is not where he is today, if not for the influence of Lincoln Riley.
And Jalen Hurts never would have come to OU if Lincoln Riley wasn't here.
I'm surprised we haven't seen a USC edit out there on Twitter. I'm surprised we haven't seen USC football put out a tweet congratulating Jalen Hurts and touting the fact that Lincoln Riley helped develop him.
I think they're just trying to stay low, man.
As they should. They're not very good right now. By the way, new story this morning from Rivals National Recruiting Director Adam Gorney, the Gorn Dog, who apparently caught up with Oklahoma 4-star wide receiver commit Daniel Odom.
I saw this
over the weekend. Here's what Daniel Odom had to say about his commitment to the University of Oklahoma. I really liked the atmosphere and the culture and the resources they have for me. Coach Emmett Jones and Coach Brent Venables, I like what they were talking about in terms of getting me on the field early as a freshman and also developing me not only as a football player but also as a young man and getting me to that next level. We also got a new OC, Coach Arbuckle, so that's good. We talked. He said we're going to be airing the ball out, so I liked that. And all my conversations when I was up there really helped my decision on that commitment. Another interesting detail from later in the story, and we'll dig into those comments on Arbuckle in just a second, but ain't this the truth? He said of his conversations with Oklahoma throughout the process, he said, They said it was 6-7, but realistically, with that team they had and the guys that were out, they weren't really a 6-7 team. I know the potential Oklahoma has to be a great team and in the playoffs. I'm not even worried about how they did last season. I believe they're going to bounce back and have a great season. Love to hear that. Love to hear that from a blue-chip wide receiver from all the way out in Cali. Hey, look, I know what Oklahoma is. I know the tradition of this institution. I understand and had it explained to me that they got dealt a really, really tough hand in 2024, but the future's still bright. However, what I think is more interesting, you go back to his conversation with Arbuckle as he outlined it, Oklahoma's going to air the ball out again? I wonder what that looks like. Are we talking air it out? Because there are two different ways you can interpret that. You can interpret that as we're throwing the ball 50 times a game, like Mike Leach airing it out. Or airing it out in the sense that, hey, we're just going to take a bunch of shots downfield. We may throw the ball 25, 30 times a game, but 5 of those throws are going to be home run shots. How do you interpret that?
Yeah. I interpret it as we're not going to be so damn scared. I mean, look, I know you didn't have a whole lot of receivers last year. I know there was a lot missing due to injury. But I do firmly believe this about the wide receiver talent in the United States of America. You know the easiest thing to find? Fast dudes. And you had 2 quarterbacks that had ample arm talent. I know Jackson didn't work out, but he still had some arm talent. Michael Hawkins, we've seen he has arm talent. I don't know why they just didn't take shots. So when I hear that, it sounds like a kid who watched the film and talked to the coaches. They were like, yeah, we're not doing this again. And it's almost a philosophical and mentality change that's going to be new here with Ben Arbuckle. So, and obviously everything in a perfect world, you may have seen some of that. We'll never know. And quite frankly, it's irrelevant at this point. But if they're going to start taking some shots and opening up everything else with the offense that wasn't opened up because of the conservative nature of the play calling last year, gotta love it, especially if you're a wide receiver recruit, no doubt.
And I think if you've watched any of Washington State's games this past year, one of the things that you noticed is that John Mateer is really, really comfortable and really, really talented when it comes to throwing on the run. And what that means is you go back to Oklahoma's main struggle in 2024, which is the fact that they couldn't protect the quarterback, regardless of who the quarterback was. John Mateer's a guy where, yes, you expect Oklahoma to protect him better, but even with heat on him, he's a guy that's still not going to be overwhelmed and not going to allow the pocket to collapse on him. And so the instinct with which he plays the quarterback position, I think, should open up all sorts of possibilities for Oklahoma in the downfield passing game. And I will be interested to see what the year one splits look like, because traditionally, Grayson, Oklahoma's best offenses have actually leaned in the direction of the run. You go back, for instance, to 2017, I think it was 54-46 run pass, and you see a pretty similar split when you explore the Lincoln Riley era and also the Jeff Lebby era, right? They ran the ball more than they threw it. And that was a very successful calculus, a very successful recipe for offensive football at Oklahoma. But you wouldn't really, if you consider those seasons and that era in hindsight, and I didn't tell you they lean more to the run, you probably in your mind would not have come up with the idea that Oklahoma was actually a run-first team during that era, because what were all of the highlights, right? What are all of the highlights that run through your head when I talk about 2017? Baker Mayfield airing it out to CeeDee Lamb, or Baker Mayfield airing it out to Hollywood Brown, or Baker Mayfield airing it out to freaking Michael Jones in the Big 12 championship game. Baker Mayfield hitting Mark Andrews down the sideline for the decisive touchdown against Texas. You know, there's that old commercial that Greg Maddux and some of the other Atlanta Braves players did.
Uh-huh.
They said, "Chicks dig the long ball."
Yeah.
Equally true in football. The aerial attack is what's sexy. And so What remains critical, though, is that you use the run to set up the pass. And so I think that's going to be what I am even more curious to see in 2025 is if Oklahoma can do that effectively with this group of running backs and this offensive line. Can they put John Mateer in the best position to succeed because they force the opposition to account for the run and give Mateer more space to operate down the field? And if that's not the case, if that's not something Oklahoma can establish, can the Sooners get away with throwing the ball 40, 50 times a game? And can they just, I don't know, out firepower the opposition because of Mateer's tendency to make the right decisions with the football and his willingness to take calculated risks? I don't know. We got a lot of time ahead to discuss what the 2025 season will bring for Oklahoma and Ben Arbuckle's offense. But for today, here on Locked In, it's a wrap. He is Grayson Singleton. I am Parker Thune. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place. The Rush kicks off next. Teddy and Tyler got you. Keep it here.